Welcome into Inside LAFC. MVP from overcast gray eastern Los Angeles, which is the same weather we're getting all over Los Angeles on this wonderful Memorial Day weekend. I hope you had a good one. How was your weekend, Vince?
Busy. Very busy. Working with my significant other at some markets under this gray weather, but it was fun. But I'm tired, and I wish we would have had a day off, but we have to do this for the people. The podcast for the people. You need this because it's a big week.
This is going to be a good podcast. Lots to discuss, a comprehensive preview of the CONCACAF Champions League final. This is a finals football match, everything at stake, and Vince will give you a little something extra as to why this could put LAFC on a very, very high summit. We'll also be joined by Marco Garces, Director of Football, who came from Mexican football in Pachuca. He's been a big part in recruiting and scouting players. He'll give us an idea of what to expect in these two matches because he's very familiar with Leon.
This is a proper final preview. Like, Max and I, we make a few jokes here and here, but we really get into it. So if you're saying, I haven't seen Leon since we played them all the way back in 2020, we're going to tell you exactly what's going on with them. And then on top of it, we have Marco Garces to really take us over the top with the actual details and the real football. You're gonna learn a lot. So you're going to need this, not just for this leg coming up away in Leon, but keep it handy because you can listen to it again before Sunday at BMO Stadium.
A quick word for all those who've made Memorial Day possible. Thank you for all that you have done so that we could sit here and talk football on a lovely day here. And as you can see, the crowds are starting to clip through here in Los Angeles. Hope you're all having a great time and are safe. Inside LAFC MVP podcast starts right now. Let's get right into it here on Inside LAFC MVP. I'm not going to bore you with the weather as much as I'd like to because it's
pretty bad, though.
It wrecked my beach day on Sunday, but that's all right. It's not about me. It's about LAFC. Are you okay?
I mean, you know what? Maybe the weather's a good thing because Memorial Day, the fact that we're working, maybe it's a good thing the weather's like this.
Yeah. We're going to work.
Yeah, we are going to work. We're going to go through a lot in this podcast. We're going to
This is great work weather. Great work weather.
Max and I are going to get you ready for everything CCL and how important this week is because...
How important is it?
It might be the most important week in LAFC history. I mean, no joke. Maybe the first game in Seattle because that's the start of everything. But when you talk about a team like LAFC holding the Supporter Shield, holding MLS Cup, holding their domestic trophies, and then doing well in the league, reaching the final, and the fact that they can capture the first international trophy in club history, to hold all those trophies, we can even maybe put the Western Conference trophy in there, so now we got 4 of them. To hold all of them, that would be... I gotta say it, Max. The greatest,
unprecedented, for sure.
Unprecedented would be factually accurate, but I'm going to throw my opinion on it. Greatest MLS team of all time.
I can't argue that if they finish it. Maybe even with let's take it one step at a time. For those who may be unfamiliar with the CONCACAF Champions League, it's a Champions League that they're having all over the world. The UEFA Champions League, which we're most familiar with, the Copa Libertadores in South America, the Asian Champions League, the African Champions League. By the way, there was almost a chance. They're all playing at the FIFA Club World Cup. There was almost a chance that Al Nassr with Cristiano Ronaldo would have, because they're the host. It's in Saudi Arabia in December. That's what they're playing for to play in this. That if he won, which they didn't, they finished second. That Cristiano Ronaldo could be waiting for everyone there.
Do you know what place? Do you know what place they were in before Cristiano Ronaldo?
First.
Sorry, bud.
Yeah, but he's got piles of money.
He does. He wins. He won at life. Well, maybe not.
Look, a Saudi team upset Flamengo, the Brazilian champions, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and played in the final against Real Madrid. So we could start to dream if LAFC wins this. They go to Saudi Arabia, play in the Club World Cup, and could play Manchester City, which is a good jump-off point because I think there's the comparison. Manchester City is in the conversation, and I would make a very good conversation that this Manchester City team, if they hit their targets, could be considered the best soccer team ever because it's coming from Europe. We could say we're in this region, but when you look at a team, what they have done, they just won the Premier League. They have the FA Cup against Manchester United. That's the second trophy, and that obviously carries a little less weight. But if they win the Champions League,
but to beat their rival and then the Champions League,
they're facing Inter. They beat Real Madrid. If they win those 3 trophies, and we love to have these conversations and arguments. So whatever, don't have an argument, have a very civil conversation if you can. They're right up there.
Well, there's always a slight letdown when you win a trophy. I know that once you have a trophy, and Marco Garces will talk about this, our guest will talk about it, winning breeds winning. When you get a trophy, you seem to continue to win, but there's always a little bit of a letdown. So to hold all the trophies in one year, to keep your focus when you win the league, and then you go to the next trophy, to be able to do that is at least an epic feat from a mentality standpoint, but even physically. I mean, we've seen these guys. We've watched these guys so far this season. It seems like every 2 days there's a match. Like we're Max and I are tired. We're not playing in any of these games. So the fact that they're going to do this, and you're right, Max. The Man City and the European kind of sentiment and parallel is the way we should look at this. And I know a lot of people are thinking, I don't know that much about CCL. It's a big deal. Like you're not just laying claim to, you're like, yeah, we might be the best team in our region. No, you are your best team in the region. And I think as this is growing, it's getting harder and harder to play in as more MLS teams are getting to the final. Yes, Seattle won it last year, but I don't think it's a given. And more teams are going to take this seriously. The teams in Honduras, El Salvador, all around the region are getting better, and they're expanding this tournament to make it more like the UEFA Champions League, because that original UEFA Champions League, Real Madrid reeled off 5 in a row. There was 4 teams.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. And
then
expansion really illuminated it.
Well, and I think that's kind of the way our Champions League's been for the longest time. It's been it's weird that it's been an international competition that's not been shed an international light on. Like, it hasn't been shown in the way that it has. And I think now it's growing, and we're getting a wider spotlight on it. And so if you don't know about it, I totally understand. But, like, get informed, because these games are going to be as exciting as any international competition around the world.
It was great to win MLS Cup, but by playing in the Champions League and being able to say you could be the best MLS club, that MLS Cup is embedded in this campaign, this Champions League campaign. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's a better way to look at it. So get very hyped. Marco Garces, the director of football here for...
You don't get here by accident, I think is what you're saying.
He will talk about that as well. And you know, people will say, hey, if LAFC wins this, will it change the perception of the sport here for the league, for the club, for the sport? I go, maybe a little bit, but I can promise you, and I think Marco will touch on this, south of the border where soccer is king, football is king, it's going to change the perception a bit, and people are going to look at MLS and people are going to get angry. I don't want to take away his talking points.
It'll be the meme with the dog where everything's on fire and he has this coffee cup and he's just going, this is fine. No, it's not. Fine. Not there.
And what does that mean? How does that look? I can't quite tell you that, but you know, if you're the champion of something, that eyes turn to there, and maybe fans in Mexico, fans of the Mexican League in the United States will go, wait, this league is for real. Maybe I'm going to give it a peek. Maybe I'll kick the tires on following the league or following this club.
I think understanding that the level is raising is one thing, but then concretely seeing it when an MLS team raises a trophy will definitely get some wondering, wait, are the better players north of the border? Am I missing out on something? Should I maybe be watching more of this than maybe, let's say, a European game that's hours ahead of mine, when I can actually maybe go to these games if I live in Mexico, especially with Leagues Cup coming up? I just, you're right. I think it will raise the level, and it will raise the profile and the priority of fans. Maybe, like you said, maybe not as much in the United States, but south of the border, the region will be taking notice.
You win. As a league, you win 2 in a row. That's a big indicator, I think. That
and when you win 3 in a row, that's called a winning streak. Sorry, I had to bring it to.
Good one. But look, it's a final. LAFC was in it before. We're going to talk about what they did in 2020 because it was abbreviated and
does this one feel
compromised a bit. Not that I could say that now. They didn't win it. But you never know if you get back to this again. But LAFC has proven they can 3 years later, but you just don't know when this opportunity will arise, so seize it. And Leon knows that as well. But there's something different. That they could. It's so different. You can lean into it a little bit. Certainly the first leg at Leon.
Yeah.
They have that intel, and they'll be able to use it. Just like in the final, they traveled down there for the first leg. They lost that game 2-0. They came back and won the home leg 3-0. Mm-hmm. So you can certainly take the two-legged affair with a common opponent and move forward. After that, there's nothing familiar with this Champions League and that one.
That 2 legs against Leon in that round, the round of 16, feels more real to me than the cup run to the final. I take nothing away from that 2020 team, what they had to do in the circumstances to go to the bubble, away from their families, no fans. They went down in a lot of those games and were able to claw their way back against all League MX sides. That is incredible, but it feels like a fever dream, Max. Yeah. It doesn't feel real, because we were so far away from it, and that's why to be able to actually be a part of this process, and I hope a lot of you were at the home games against Alajuelense or against Philadelphia, like the fact that we've gotten to have games and gotten through the normal process of home and away, it just feels that much more concrete. And that's why, again, this week is so huge. This is a culmination. There's really is the turning of a chapter here. Like I feel like we all feel like we're at the end of something, although we have still half a season to go in Leagues Cup. But if it's something's going to happen, like something's happening here. There's going to be punctuation at this part of the season. We're all going to be talking about it for years to come.
Going to have to get a bigger trophy case. Well, I don't think we have an official trophy case, but we're probably going to have to start building one and make it with a little more shoulder room. It's an incredible opportunity. I will say about 2020 that LAFC, remember, in the tournament in Orlando, beat Cruz Azul in America, narrowly lost to Tigres. They led that game, and Tigres came back at the end. Tigres went on the FIFA Club World Cup, and they beat Palmeiras, which is a top 20 team in the world, the Brazilian powerhouse, beat them, played Bayern in the final. It was tightly contested, and if Tigres win that game, they can call themselves officially
World
the
champions.
best club in the world because they played all the teams from the other confederations and they beat them. European teams win it every year, but it's by the way, I'm getting this vision of the 32-52 arriving in Saudi Arabia and enjoying that moment. Joe filming it, his head just went up. He goes, "Wait,
that's
what?
an away day." Yeah,
There's an away day. I hope you're saving your frequent flyer mileage. Might need it. It's a little further than Guanajuato.
Yeah, just.
But this is a very good LAFC team, well equipped as we have seen in a competition, because they not only made the final, they just, it was got a little sweaty palms in the matchup against Alajuelense in the second leg. But Vancouver and Philadelphia, clean. 14 goals in 6 games. They only conceded 3. LAFC is built for tournaments. They are a favorite according to the sports book, a pretty significant one here as well.
Having the second leg at home is a huge benefit to LAFC. And to your point, the first 2 rounds, it wasn't just professional performances away from home. It was like you go in there and go, we did what we had to do, and when we come home, we're going to be a little bit more comfortable. Philly was a little bit different, and I do feel like Philly is the best appetizer for LAFC here, because you were playing against a team that obviously wanted to get to a final, but on top of it, they had some revenge on their mind. They had a little bit of extra added motivation. Now, there's not that many, although there is a few leftovers from that León team that LAFC came back against. I think when you go to León, you're going to have to control your emotions, and the fact that LAFC have just come off playing a team in the last round that really wanted to make it emotional, make it about, like I said, the revenge factor, that's going to be very good for this, because you'll see when we talk to Marco Garces, it's almost not about football. And Max and I, we're going to try to break it down, but ultimately his top-level thinking was it's about controlling moments, controlling your emotions, and just dealing with everything, all the noise outside of you.
We will split the responsibility of previewing León with Marco, so we'll do it here. We're not going to pretend we know much. I watched some Liga MX. I would watch a lot more if I could, but there are so many hours in the day. And by the way, Philadelphia, since getting bounced out, have been on a really good run in MLS, and I'm happy for that, because we need clubs that consistently are good. Philadelphia Union are certainly one of them. León weren't tested in the round of 16 in the quarterfinals, had pretty Tauro of Panama, and then I think it was Motagua they got by of Honduras, which was big for
no, they had Violet, no?
Oh, Violet. I'm sorry. Violet in the quarterfinals. Violet, which is, they were always going to win that after the shock result.
Everyone's going to walk through our shot today. Crystal came so close, but she bailed out the last second.
What do they think? They think we're just like having a therapy session here with no...
The best part is, now you guys have realized, because I broke a little bit of the continuity here by talking about everybody walking into our shot, because we filmed something earlier, and you will see there's some special guests that walk through our shot.
Very good.
So continue watching, come on, Max and I are about to break down this game for you. You're going to stick around.
So sorry about that. Violet was the team. Where was I? But they big step up in the semifinals against Tigres.
They beat the team that are the Mexican champions.
That game was amazing, and Marco was watching. I hope many of the supporters would tune in, but it was just electric. And it's going to be electric in León, because they love the sport in Mexico. You don't need me to tell you that. But whether it's Liga MX Liguilla or whether it's the CONCACAF Champions League, this is a big deal in that footballing culture. So they came from behind, able to beat Tigres. They were a playoff team, however, lost earlier to San Luis in one of like the repechaje to qualify for the quarterfinals. That was back on May the 7th, and it's kind of ironic because one of the concerns for MLS teams to do well in CCL is when it begins, their league isn't in play.
Right.
So you're not getting real game action to prepare yourself for a major competition. Now it's flipped, and it's going to be about 3.5 weeks since León played. They're trying to get some games under their belt, but you can't imitate it. And LAFC, even though they didn't play this weekend, have been pretty active, plenty active. They'll have an edge there. The question is how much of an edge. I think it might. I think you're going to see LAFC in comparison to what they did in 2020. I think you're going to see them ease into a game and look, because they played there before, because they played more games, because of what happened last year and the tension, not just with León, but the league, they're feeling that pressure. I think you're going to see a good start from LAFC, which would certainly put them in great position for the second leg.
At the very least, there's not really a chance that León can just run 100 miles an hour in the first 10 minutes and just really get at you, right? And it is different, but it is. I agree with you. It would absolutely be a factor. For MLS teams, it's a little different, I guess, because every year there's so much turnover in MLS teams, and then you're trying to mold and gel a squad while also trying to get fit. The one benefit that they do have is they did play through a season, and now they're taking off. So it's still the same guys. Yes, your fitness is going to drop a little bit, but you've built up to this fitness. So that is, but it has to be a factor. And as you said, going away first, normally you go away and you think first 15, 20 minutes, man, we're going to get battered right now. This team's going to give us everything. They're going to be running by us. We're going to be chasing shadows. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's going to be harder just physically for them to do that, let alone tactically or dealing with the skill level of LAFC.
We'll get to that. We'll expand on that in our keys to the game. But real quickly about León and some things that stood out. I watched both legs of that semifinal. I watched their playoff game and seen some of what they've done. There's some familiar. I mean, I've always been a big Angel Mena fan. He is a handful. He's there. By the way, Chapito Montes, who was there back, he's now 37. We were curious where he is. I got a thumbs up from Marcos. He goes, he is now playing in Chile for Everton of Chile.
Do they also wear blue? I
have to remember that. I used to cover Chilean football.
Is there any kind of...
No.
No?
My favorite Chilean team is named after the great liberator of Chile, O'Higgins. No, I just love it.
Good common name out there, O'Higgins.
O'Higgins. And...
well... Everton survived in the Premier League this past weekend.
But I like Mena. Victor Davila has 10 goals, so statistically he's coincidentally he's a young Chilean striker that they have there. Rodolfo Cota, solid seasoned goalkeeper.
They're a team.
If it gets to that part of the game where maybe you're looking at penalties down the stretch.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is they are a team, and you and I were talking about this just when we were trying to get together. They have good players. Don't get us wrong, but when we played that León team before, and maybe not a lot of people knew them, but the Luis Montes, the Angel Mena, the Meneses. Tecillo's still on the team, but doesn't play quite as much. They had guys that maybe we didn't know them, but they were big names in Mexico.
Right. And just to interrupt you really quick, but if we were previewing this and you say it was Tigres or Chivas, and they go, give us a name. You go Gignac. Or for Chivas, you go Alexis Vega. It's easy. Whether that's the key player is up for discussion, but you can throw that name out there and say, all right, that's a guy. It's harder to do it with León. It really is a collective.
It is, but I think, as Max alluded to, we try to watch as much as we can, but it's hard to. But when you watch León, the one thing that stands out immediately is physically and mentally they're there. They're switched on. The chance that anytime they get a chance to turn you over and then run, they run. They get out and run. They do things at speed. 1v1. They're gonna get out there. As we said, once they kind of get into the rhythm of the game, the pace of the game, you got to look out.
Yeah, this is gonna be a test, and it's so huge for them. I thought they won the Champions Cup way back, but they haven't won it here, and it's been a minute, and they've seen a lot of other clubs in Liga MX lift that trophy. The CONCACAF Champions League, it's been nice for MLS recently, but there was a lot of years where it was two Mexican teams in the finals, so they've been kind of handing it around like a hot potato. So we got to put an end to that.
Some lean years.
How do we look like for the keys for this game, and what does LAFC need to do?
I'll jump right back off my last point. Transitions. You got to control transitions. They're going to be so important in this game. They're going to go quick. They're going to be fierce about it, and they finish their runs. It's not like, you have teams that they want to counterattack, and maybe they get out and run, but it's like it's a switch that turns on, and you see 4 or 5 of them just getting forward, and they're going to put you under pressure in that way. So your ability to either control those or then to corral, get back, delay, and get your team back is going to be so important in this matchup, especially away from home.
Yeah. I don't want to be too superficial, but I'm just looking at what has served LAFC well. And Steve Trinolo said it to us each time. We were like, okay, Is he really going to do that? And he has. And he said, we're playing to win. And I don't think that's going to change here. So they went out and got 3 goals at Alajuelense. Mm-hmm. They went out and got 3 or 4 in Vancouver. I mean, it was over.
Yeah.
And wasn't the case in Philadelphia, but even if they didn't get that late Kellen Acosta goal, they put themselves in position by losing by 1 where they were going to get through in the second leg where they were overwhelming. That is just, I think, what you want to see them. You want to see them competing. You don't want to see them on their back foot too much. If they give a goal up, they're going to go chase another one. I'm confident they're good for a goal, which is something they didn't do back in 2020. There's no reason to think LFC is going to change it. I think that's going to mess with Leon a little bit when you see this team going, no. This is not your run-of-the-mill MLS club. We're not going to here protect things for the second leg at home. We're going to try, as we did in every other matchup, to take care of business in the first leg.
Yeah, if we were
great. All the away legs.
Well, if you're writing,
had a benefit, right? You've had away legs to start every.
If you're writing keys in like a article format and you're putting a headline, it's set the table.
Yeah.
It is such an advantage to have that second leg here, but setting the table and knowing exactly what you have to do, understanding the other team and understanding the game that you have ahead of you, as opposed to just solely chasing the game, which we did, and they did successfully against Leon in that round of 16, but you just don't want that in a final. Because you need a little bit of luck, and you can't count on a little bit of luck when you're chasing a game.
Right, and they got the second leg, which is what you want because of their performance in this tournament, and they got the away leg to open it up because of what they did last season, so they're not just flipping a coin to see who gets the second leg. LAFC has earned the right to do that, and now the second leg, where everything comes into view, you've played the 90 minutes, go, what do we have to do in the second leg? I'm pretty confident LAFC will be in a position to secure it. Player to stick out.
Player to watch.
I will say this because there's a lot of similarities, but how many players were on the field in 2020 that are now on? Is it just one? Is it?
No.
What is it? Wait, Vela?
Carlos, Sifu.
Sifu was there. Yep, you're right. Cheeky.
More than a few.
We got.
God, now we're going through this. Jesus David Murillo. Okay, maybe that's it now. Maybe now I've run out of them.
I apologize, as you will see on this podcast. My memory's a little hit and miss.
Well, again,
I could do with it.
As I said, that 2020, it just felt like
database. I need an extra gig in there somewhere.
Fever dream.
But not a lot. So, I mean, I was going to mention some keys or a guy like Timothy Tillman, but I'm curious as to how he is going to respond to playing on a CONCACAF night, which no doubt is going to be a visceral sensation for him. But he is still going to be my key because I remember when he first played and how he felt a little.
Okay.
You could say, wait, this guy, is he not ready? And the next game, he was in. He was in the rhythm, and he stayed in that rhythm all the way. And based on what you said with the transition, he's taken a little bit off the shoulders of. And I don't know if he's going to start. We'll see. I mean, we'll get a better idea of who's going to play. But he's taking that off the pressure of Ilya Sanchez. Ilya Sanchez with some of the defensive duties. So there is
he runs a lot.
He runs a lot, and I think he's going to be able to close a lot of gaps, and it's going to frustrate him. So because of his skill set, that's a guy I will stick out. But I'm very excited about what the midfield can do.
Yeah, the midfield. Anytime you talk about transition, they're both in that. They have to control the game. They have to know when to push, when to not. They have to connect the two lines, and they have to be able to get back and help.
You know who was great in that 2020 game?
Who?
Mark Anthony Kaye. Sitting in that second leg.
Right.
I thought he was like one of the better. He was, to me, it stood out. I remember that was one of his crowning achievements. Maybe he could fill that kind of role.
Well, because in that, he was able to stifle, because remember, they didn't have a single shot on target in that home game. And what Mark was so good at was stifling a lot of moments where maybe they could have gotten out in transition, but instead we recover the ball, and then you put them right back under pressure. And that becomes big, because when you're playing a team that wants to sit back and counterattack, if every time they go to get forward, you just find a way to stifle that transition quickly, what are they going to think? Like, their mentality has to shift in a little bit, going like, well, the next time I make this run, if I'm just going to have to run back defensively and try to snuff out something the other way, I don't want to do it. And whether they say it or not, it comes into play. So I agree with you. Tillman big. I'm going to say the obvious, though. Denny Bouanga.
Yeah. When you say transition, too, when LAFC's on transition, that's going to be a
Denny
big...
Bouanga. And when LAFC's on transition, it's not just getting the ball forward. It's not just creating attacks. They're going to have to score goals. At the end of the day, to win a final, you got to score goals. Yeah. You've got to put teams under pressure. And Denny has been, as I've dubbed him, big game Bouanga in the past. And I just think that if he can get out there, get running. I still remember bringing up the San Jose game. When he came into that San Jose game, he was vibrating. Like, there was electricity going through him. Every time they showed the camera, it was like he's like, he's like, you unleash him from a cage. He literally is like, he comes out there. He's like, I'm so stoked to play. And I loved, after one of the games, somebody asked, do you ever get tired? And he just goes, no.
Seriously, ever? No.
Well, he said it. He's like, I'm not happy when I'm not playing.
Yeah.
I'm not happy when I'm on the field. I'm happy. This is what I want to do. This is my life. And it shows to an extent of literally, I thought he had been plugged into a light socket.
Yeah, and right on cue. There he is.
There he is.
I'm not kidding. Danny just walked by.
And a fantastic sweatsuit.
Lacoste. Very nice. So
who is your tailor?
And Carlos
sir?
Vela as a wild card, because you know what I'd say, one thing you can take around 2020, he rose to that. He knew what was what, and playing these big Mexican clubs, he was consistently good there.
Yep.
And maybe we deflect because we know what Carlos can do, but that is such a ace up the sleeve that LAFC have. So remember that.
I mean, I don't know how many times I have to remind you, but for all those people who are like, maybe he doesn't care. The dude cares.
He
and
does.
The dude's more competitive, and that's why when the brightest lights were on him against those Mexican teams, he was going to show exactly what he could do.
I think that was pretty thorough.
That was pretty thorough.
Let's bring Marco in.
Well, before we bring Marco in, let's do this real quick. LAFC will win if.
I thought we covered that with the.
We kind of did with the keys, but give me something.
LAFC,
maybe off the.
If LAFC score a goal in Leon, book it.
I like it.
Book it.
I like it. Okay, and then I'll do the converse. Leon will win if they get a strong result at home. They need it. I don't think there's no doubt about it. If it's 0-0-1-1 and they're coming here, it's not happening. It can't happen.
They have to see what's happened in this competition, how dominant LAFC excellent they have been on away dates.
They're going to need a very strong result at home, and I mean strong. I mean 2-0, 3-0, which I don't foresee happening, which is going to take a lot of luck. So, good luck, guys. Best of luck.
A lot to be excited about, but you got to execute it. And as we talked to Marco, there's a few issues off the field that are going to come into play or on the field. Whatever that looks like, you put it into the pot, and that's what makes a final. Finals football as good as it gets. No predictions, right? I don't want to do one. I feel very confident. I'll say that, though. I feel very confident.
I do feel good about it. It doesn't make me feel good when Vegas goes over heavy favorites. Don't love that.
No.
But the team and the health of the team and the way that they've been playing all leading up to this makes me confident.
Excellent. Now we can bring in Director of Football Marco Garces to talk about Leon, to talk about Champions League, and to talk about posting food on Instagram, which you do want to check out here on Inside LAFC MVP. We're back here inside LAFC MVP. Marco Garces, our second time. You brought the birds as well. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That's got to be good luck, right? Good sign.
I don't know.
Talking about our producer off air
It depends on what culture and who you ask, I think. It could be bad.
Depends if the bird does anything. Director of Football Operations, we're getting ready for a massive week. We were talking about this is like the biggest week for LAFC because all the work that they put into it has led to this. Your time in Mexico, you've seen this perspective as well. When you think of the CONCACAF Champions League, what comes to mind?
Well, I've been involved several times in this tournament. I had a chance to be champion a few times, and the last one was in 2017 with Pachuca when we played that final against Tigres. And well, I know how important it is. It's once you get into these stages, it becomes your priority. I'm pretty sure Leon wants to win it as much as we do. They've never been champions of any international competition, so I know this has been their focus for the entire year. And now we're in this stage, like you can feel it in your stomach. It's coming,
And this is a big deal in Mexico. What changed last year, maybe from the Mexican perspective, because an MLS team won it in the Sounders? You think
it sent shockwaves, like it's the first time that an MLS team has won it, and now we have the chance to win it on a second in a row. It would create a massive shockwave, like it's the most important thing.
When we knew we were coming in this week, we're like, who's the guest going to be? And I was trying to rack my brain. I was like, Marco has so much experience on the other side. And specifically, we wanted to talk to you about Liga MX teams because I don't think a lot of people quite understand, and especially because it's Leon. It's not maybe a Chivas or an America. And so people don't quite get the vibe. But looking at Leon, can you kind of tell people what Leon is, what they kind of stand for, and what is their greatest strength? What is Leon known for?
Well, if you saw the final yesterday of Chivas against Tigres, you know that it doesn't necessarily have to do with football. It's an emotional game. It's something that it goes beyond tactical.
He does that every week now.
He's getting better at it. He's getting better at it.
He's getting better. That was good.
Yeah, that
was good. It was like Superman.
yeah. So it's not about strategy. It's not about tactics. It's not about the quality of players. It's who can keep their cool in these kind of instances, right? And I think that's going to be massive tomorrow. Leon, you know, because you've played against them. It's an emotional place. It's a tiny stadium in which you feel the people above you. The referee is going to play a big part in it if he can keep his cool and he can keep judging plays as it goes and not trying to go too home-sided. But
you put that out there now because it's
yeah, but it's the third final I've played there in Leon Stadium. So I played there as a player, a final, and then with Pachuca we lost a final there, and now it's the third time, and I know that it's very emotional.
Well, it's almost like a sleight of hand for a referee, because something will be going on here and he'll be focused, but then behind him something worse might be going on, and so
Yes.
like as you say, it's almost like, what do you keep? If you're a referee, you have to keep your own head in a way.
Exactly. You have to remove yourself, like get a distance from everything, so that you can keep judging, evaluating.
playing the second leg at home for LAFC is ideal, right? But winning the first leg if Leon does it, and we saw them do it when they played back in 2020, and LAFC came back, but I don't think you want to have a habit of coming back.
Yeah.
From your perspective, first leg, second leg, how would you, for LAFC's view, how would you prefer it? Is it the way it is right now?
It is the way it is right now. Yeah, I would definitely prefer to close in here. Then, because I'm telling you, over there it's going to be a very emotional game. I think the first 20-30 minutes will be fundamental in whatever happens in this final.
What about the layoff for Leon? Haven't played since May 7th.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
Right, and there's no one really even play, right? Because the rest of the teams that are not in the playoffs, they're on vacation.
Yes.
So as a player, I mean, how long does it take them to get their bearings in that?
Yeah, it's very difficult. I know they played a couple of games. They played against Atlante, they played against Herediano. So they've been playing. They've been trying to keep the regular weeks, like trying to do the microcycle as you usually do in a week. But it's difficult. It's difficult when your head is not in there. The games don't really matter. You're thinking about not getting injured. So I guess it's a little bit like the same for us, We keep on playing games, but you have this thing in your head about the final, and you can't really focus on anything,
What is it about Leon? Because we looked at them, and it's a team with a very great collective spirit. I mean, we remember the team from a few years ago. Mm-hmm. It's changed a bit, but they've maintained a good success. So when you're talking with Steve and the coaching staff, what would your input be about Leon and what to be careful of?
Well, it's a very weird situation for me because I know that there's multi-propriety in Mexico. So Pachuca works with Leon. So half of these players, I had them in the academy since they were 10. And the other half I scouted them when I was over there, so I know them pretty well. It's been a very successful team that has been keeping certain players for a long while. Like Tecillo played against you, Mena played against you, Cota played against you. So they've retained certain important players, and they've been scouting and promoting from the academy, mainly from Pachuca, a lot of players. So I know them well. I know that this is going to be huge for them, that this is the priority for not this year, for the last 5 years. And now in this stage, I mean, it's going to be a very intense game. They're a very vertical team, as you've probably seen. They base everything in counterattacks, and it's gonna be difficult.
As it should be. It's a final.
Right.
It's
it's not going to be easy, guys. So we'll put it there now. I mean, but they have moved out some pivotal players though too. Luis Montes, Meneses, obviously Menes still there. Mm-hmm. So from your perspective, saying that you've scouted these guys, what is the profile then? If they're a vertical team, so they're looking for players that carry the ball. They're looking for speedy players. What kind of profile do they look for in their player?
They always play in a 4-3-3, and they like their wingers to be very wide and to be very vertical. They're good in 1v1 situations, both of the wingers. Elias Hernandez, we had in Pachuca, and Mena, which came from Cruz Azul. They're they're wide wingers that are very good in 1v1 situations, and the three in the middle, they're capable of playing quick. Even though we say that they play in a 4-4-2, Davila will always drop into the hole, and it'll be more of a 4-2-3-1.
Okay.
I don't know who's going to play in the center, but if they play with this Ambris, which is a young boy, 2003, he played in the
Nacho's kid, yeah, right?
No, he's not.
He's Nacho's kid.
No, it's Nacho's kid.
Is he related? Is like
no, they're
Wow, I
not
didn't know.
related. They're not related, but he played with Christian Torres and Nathan and Leone in that under-20 team.
Oh.
So we know him really well.
Good player.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
He's a good player. He's dynamic. He's intense, and I think they will play to that. They will trust their intensity. We know Larcamon very well, the coach. He will try to make it a crazy game, emotional, just like the game yesterday. It's not about football anymore.
So in that case, then it becomes about moments.
It becomes about moments,
Right,
and
so-
who can keep their cool.
And now, if you talk about that, then my mind goes straight to MLS Cup, and
It is.
and that LAFC team that was able to get above in moments. So did MLS Cup is probably the best possible preparation. I mean, I guess it's silly to say another final is the best possible preparation,
Yes.
but the different finals are different.
But it is.
Right.
And we try to do that since the academy. It's not important to win things in the academy, but it's important to be in these kind of games, because the best preparation to be a champion is to be champion, because it kind of keeps repeating, People that win, they just keep winning for some reason or another, like Gareth Bale, how many times he has done what he did in here.
score a goal late in a big game.
Yes, yes.
It's a habit. It becomes a habit for me.
It becomes a habit, and then back to your question, the best preparation, and what I'm expecting for this week is that on-pattern, craziness, emotional, and hopefully it'll be about football, a little bit even.
But I think that's a really interesting theme here, because how you focus on it, you want to be about football, but there's a lot of things you have to kind of take into consideration. And this is going to be a huge occasion for Leon. You mentioned they haven't won in this format, and this would kind of put their name on the top headline in Mexico. So what else?
Just so you know, I'm very good friends with the owner, Jesus Martinez, and he called me like 10 minutes ago, and he told me, I haven't slept all week. Are you the same? I said, yeah, I haven't slept all week. So.
No, you should have lied and said, we're totally fine.
We're totally fresh.
We're feeling good.
We're fresh.
I'm completely fresh.
Sorry, it's a big deal, but it's a big deal in the city.
It's a massive deal for the city, for the country, for the owners, for everyone involved.
If MLS teams win back-to-back, what
Oh
would
my
Football
God.
Picante, what would all those shows that talk about Liga
Oh
MX
my
be
God.
saying?
It'll explode, because they will criticize everything. They will say that nothing is going well with Mexican football. The players are wrong. The coaches are wrong. Everything's crap. Let's just burn it all. I think that's going to be the tendency.
Do the players wear that? I mean, even if they're not playing with the national team, does that weigh on them?
Yes, of course, because it's not a pressure inside the stadium. That's pressure the whole week. You can't go to restaurants. You can't walk through the street. Everyone's in your case all the time. So, it's big pressure over there. It's a big pressure. You'll see it.
I know.
Yeah, we'll feel it.
I'll
feel it.
see it, but I wonder, how much it will benefit to LAFC and MLS to historically, when you look back, if they are able to accomplish this, and it just opens up so many possibilities. It makes your possibility for the branding on LAFC, and people go, yeah, that's the club that won the CCL after they won MLS Cup.
Yeah, LAFC is known in Mexico because of that game against León, when Vela scored, and when we came back from losing 2-0. That was how the LAFC name was introduced to Mexico, and now we're in the chance to do it again.
Would that help you with players? Because Daniel Maldonado came from Pachuca in there, and
Yes.
that's going to obviously, at the very least, have players down there saying, I want to kick the tires on playing there.
I've been here for a year and a half, and I've already felt that change. Like in the beginning, it was a little bit more difficult to scout players, but not Daniel Maldonado, like Stipe Biuk or even Mati Bogus. It was very difficult to bring young talent from abroad. Now they are calling.
Fantastic.
Well,
Yeah.
you said that you hope the final will be about football, and because it's our podcast, we're going to not talk about football now. We're going to talk about your Instagram, which I enjoy.
Follow him.
I enjoy greatly. You should follow him on Instagram, and if you're not, you're missing out on a lot of. I think what you're doing is good work for the city of Los Angeles because you're going to places that people may not know about. We off air we're talking about Jonathan Gold's book, a famous writer in Los Angeles. If you don't know about him, please look him up. He's unfortunately passed, but his writing and his work in finding not just the high-end restaurants, but the taco trucks, the hole in the walls, and you've been going out of your way to find those. How fun has that been for you?
It's a lot of fun for me and my wife. We try to go into these every time that we have like 2 hours for free. We try to pick a restaurant from the Jonathan Gold's Trail and go there. We've been to Greek restaurants, Armenian restaurants. I mean, you know, LA. Everything in the world is here in LA. So, and it has helped me a lot also to get to know the city and the communities and how LA was built. You know, it's difficult to understand LA because it's not like other cities that they come from a city center or a downtown and then they expand. In here, it's like a lot of centers all over the place and communities that are integrated. But you go to a Korean restaurant and all the people that are sitting down are Korean and the menu is in Korean and everyone's speaking in Korean. So it's truly, it's like if you travel to Korea.
Authentic.
It's authentic. It's not trying to cater for the American palate. It's really authentic.
That's very well put. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing these restaurants a service because I'm going to Bang Bang Noodle in Culver City because the video is saying, I go, that looks pretty good.
Your photography is pretty good too. I'm not gonna lie, you do a pretty good job.
Your football thing is doing great. So, but in case you want to maybe later in life you want to try be a food vlog or something, you might be able to pull it off.
Yeah, no, we really love eating. We've been foodies for our entire lives, and just Rich Orozco opened this Instagram account for me and said, well, what am I going to upload? I do nothing. And then I just started.
That's probably what he told you. He says, give it time, you'll figure out where it is, and then you're going to post again.
Exactly.
And maybe this will be hard to answer because you have gone to so many. What is something that you haven't gotten to try yet that maybe you've kind of been on your list and you haven't gotten to go eat it yet?
Well, actually, there's a paella place that I want to try, but it only opens on Thursdays, and for some reason, I'm never available on a Thursday.
You need like a password?
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to this place, for this paella place. Yeah.
What is your?
That means their business is good if they can open up one night and go, you come to us between
No, they do
5 and
seafood
9.
every day, and they only do paella on Thursdays.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what is your? Obviously, clearly, you're willing to venture out of your comfort zone, but what you like spicy food? What is your?
Spicy food.
Yeah.
Spicy food, whatever it is,
Good for
Korean, Indian, I really love it. I really love it. Yeah.
And concerts too, because I see you hitting some concerts on IG as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Music and food. You are cultured. Music, football, food.
Yeah, you
Holy
have
Trinity.
to, because it's so emotional, you have to have a life outside, otherwise you just get consumed through it, you know? I was expecting another Superman or something.
The Chirundalo drive-by.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start like when people pass by me now. I think it's Steve wherever we are.
It was a bit disappointing that he just walked
I
through.
know.
That helps you with your work, right? When you have that clarity and you said, I'm enjoying myself, I'm eating, I'm spending time with my family, I'm spending time with hearing music that I like, and that helps you with your day-to-day.
Of course, I think that it also brings a range of experiences that you can also bring in here. When we started talking about the Academy Plus, actually it was something that I brought in from the Philharmonica, you know, because in the Philharmonic they have guest directors. So why don't we have guest directors to coach our kids, you know, our best talented kids? And now we brought in the Mexican national team coach, the American national team coach, the Guatemala national team coach to have a session, just like guest directors in an orchestra.
That idea sprung because you saw that with the guest directors in the Philharmonic.
Yes, and I spoke to a director. I spoke to a director, and he said, "No, I really enjoy seeing my musicians with other kind of leadership because I get to know a little bit more about them." And I thought, like, that's an interesting idea. You know?
I'm so glad I asked that question.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Yeah.
How often have you done stuff like that? Sorry, when I hear that, it sounds and I don't want to drop his name, but very Pep Guardiola like, because he studies chess masters and then finds a way to bring it in.
Yep.
You know, bringing life experiences. Have you always been that way?
I think I've always been that way, but I didn't do it in a sense that I wanted to improve my professional life through other experiences. I just did it because I wanted to.
Right.
Yeah. And
Basically.
a natural byproduct of it.
It's a natural byproduct. It wasn't intentional.
Yeah, you
in
can't
any
you
way.
can't force it,
You can't force it. No,
but
no.
it's gonna come out of you because you're you and you're
Yeah,
going
because
to your
you're
work.
always thinking about football, and then you see all these experiences, and you see all these things, and that kind of looks like what we're doing. Maybe if we tweak this and that, maybe it can apply. Yeah.
And you're not shortchanging your time in LA. You feel very comfortable here, I can
My
tell.
God, I love this place. It's so nice. It's so good. It's like it has everything that the world has to offer. So if you're bored with LA, you're bored with life, basically.
Put it on a T-shirt. That's a good
You're
spot.
bored with LA. Never has a more accurate expression been said on this podcast. Mark, we're thrilled that you're here and we get to hear these things. It's a different perspective that I'm glad our audience is able to listen to. And thanks for your insight as well about how big this week is going to be.
It's going to be massive. So
You're going down, correct?
Yeah, I'm going
All right.
down.
Big, nice spot in León or Guanajuato that you'll hit?
Yes. I
get to
have
see
it on
the-
my
you
list.
get to
I have
view,
it
I'm
on my
sure.
list. You'll see it in the Instagram.
Well, look out for
See, there you go. Follow the Instagram.
We know a lot of you are going to make that trip there. I've seen Marco say hello. Enjoy it. Be safe. And we'll be ready for the second leg. And we'll be back here on Inside LAFC MVP to recap. I don't want to say. We'll recap the final. We'll leave it at there. Marco, thanks for joining us.
No, thanks a lot, Max. Thanks a lot.
Vince, as always,
Cheers.
we love Vince. I'm Max. We'll see you next time.